Week 3. Welcome, 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 you guys. This is thank you for hanging on. Sorry that it's taken so long. But week 3, if you've made it this far, we really do honor you for being committed to your business. And I just want to say, as a side note, that we have seen some phenomenal growth in certain teams that have been engaging in these principles over the last few weeks. I would love to name people, but I won't. But our top enroller so far this month has 14 enrollments. We've got another one with 12, another one 11, another one at 9. These principles really, really work. And so I just want to honor you for being here. And if that's not you, don't get discouraged. It's okay. But I hope that if that's not you, but I hope that you feel hope and go, oh my gosh, okay, it's all right. We all go at our own pace, but I just want you to know and have that confirmation that these principles work. Okay, so for last week, well, actually, before I talk about this, and that slide before says, congratulations on being committed. We had our power call on committed, or our team call yesterday on what it means to be committed. And I just want to add to what I talked about yesterday, that commitment really entails somebody being willing to do whatever it takes. So I honor you guys, even for being on this and taking the time to learn and suffering through the first 15 minutes of technical difficulties. You're awesome. Okay, so for last week, our tasks were to schedule your first class. And, we had talked about, if you're serious about creating income, ultimately you're going to want to be teaching a class a week. There's some people that teach a lot more, but ultimately, at least a class a week. So hopefully you got at least one or two classes scheduled. We want to always make sure that we're inviting twice the amount of people that we want to attend. And so a good number to invite is around 15. And for last week also, your assignment was to find 5 new people to share samples with, meet with your accountability partner or a mentor, and read something for personal development. And then we also had posted a video on the compensation plan. So hopefully you're able to get those tasks done. And if not, that's okay. You're here, going to recommit. So, in this beginner boot camp at this phase, we're really focused on sharing the oils with people. Who will I share with? Is, these 6 daily questions, we're going to come back to them every single week. And, for as long as you are engaged, doesn't matter if you're diamond, presidential diamond, these are the questions that we are always going to ask ourselves. Who will I share oils with today? And ultimately, you'll be asking all these questions of yourself every day. But just a reminder right now, we're asking, who am I going to share oils with? We're really focused on having those experiences, getting oils on people, and getting them invited to classes. And then, of course, making sure that we're keeping up on our personal development. But these other questions, who's attended a class that I'll follow up with, we're going to talk a lot more about next week. Who's enrolled that I can help better understand the loyalty rewards program? Who's using the product? And, those questions will come. But again, our focus is on really sharing. And then remembering that you want to attend any kind of team trainings that are going on. This is a wonderful opportunity. This is your team training. So congratulations for being here, weekly. And then talking to your mentor, setting goals, really important that you get clear, because I can promise you, and I'm sure there's a handful of people on this bootcamp webinar today that can attest to, when you're super clear and you know what your goals are, wow, stuff really starts to happen. So, and teaching a class each week. Okay, so now we're going to talk about preparing for your class. So do you have a class date set? Now, if you haven't done all these things, that's okay. But I hope that you have a class date set, because this is really awesome information, but it's only going to bless you and other people if you implement it. So, remember the principle of build it and they will come. So if you don't have your class date set, I challenge you to set that date today. Just build it and they will come. So how's your inviting going? Hopefully you have invited to that class that you set, that date that you set, that you have invited 15 personal invitations, 15 people to that class. And when we talk about personal invitations, we're talking about a conversation face-to-face or over the phone, preferably face-to-face if they're local, because you were able to, have an exchange of oil. That is hands down going to be a huge, huge, huge difference between people who have good class attendance and people who say, gosh, I keep putting out on Facebook, but nobody shows up to my classes. Or I sent a beautiful email out to everybody. Well, Facebook invites and emails don't smell, and they also they're not personal. And so, I'm going to encourage you to step outside your comfort zone and do it. I'm going to tell you really quickly the mentoring program that I'm in right now. I had 7 days to get a 90-second video presentation on why someone would want to work with me. I was supposed to dress up and put my makeup on and look all snazzy. And I procrastinated to the bitter end. And last night I wasn't feeling good. It was like all this upper limit. And I said to my husband, I'm not doing it. I'll just be a day late. I don't even care. And as the evening wore on, right before the sun set, I thought, you know what, Wendy, you ask people all the time to go outside their comfort zone. And so I want you guys to know I made this cheesy video last night. And it wasn't, it was uncomfortable and I didn't like any part of it. And I cringe when I watch it, But this morning when I got up, I was so thankful that I continue to push myself slightly outside of my comfort zone and sometimes far outside my comfort zone because I know that's where growth happens. So invite people personally, be confident in your invite, look them in the eye and know that those oils are going to bless them, that there is something that's going to bless them if they want it and if they're open. So anyways, do you have the right tools? Do you have everything you need? Have you prepped your host? Have you guys had a conversation about your class that's coming up? And are you ready? And there's an awesome video. You might be thinking, oh no, I'm really nervous. I can't teach a class. Don't worry. You're going to reach out to, and with the age of technology, a lot of people on this webinar are not living in the same town, that Ellie or I or your leader are living in. And that's okay, because with this age of technology, we don't need to be in the same town. Someday we'll do that. But for your first class, we can Skype in, we can FaceTime in, we can audio in, conference in, but basically you're not alone. But at the same time though, if you're one of those people that's like, man, I'm kind of nervous, but I think I could totally do this, and you're ready to do it, you have a couple of options. First of all, there's a link that we'll post in the business group that's called How to Teach a Perfect Class. And it follows the EDGE system that we love so much, really simple, really duplicatable. And that's if you want to have, like, when we talk about being prepped with like a tear sheet to follow and, for people to follow along and stuff, that class will help you do that. And we love the flow of that really simple class. And then your other option is to get the class in a box. doTERRA has a class in a box. And actually, this is really exciting. It didn't used to be this way, but it is now. There's actually a tear sheet, some class material that people will be able to follow along. So the doTERRA class in the box is great. If maybe you're like, no, I think I've got this, but I'm a little nervous. There's different videos, excuse me, and they're available. You'll get DVD, but there's also audio, or there's also files on the computer that you can access, and they're broken up into small little videos. And so, sometimes I've used the intro video just to kind of give an intro, to doTERRA. And, if you're somebody that wants to go that route, it's just a really great option. If you prefer to be the one that is teaching the class, you can follow a tear sheet and reach out for somebody to be there with you, to teach it for you that first time, to teach it with you, or to Skype in. The one thing I do want to say about Class in a Box is it's not like you're going to just watch all the videos. If you choose to go that route, make sure you talk a little bit in between, like, hey, this is just going to tell us a little bit about doTERRA and a little bit about the company. And so we're just going to watch it. It's just a couple minutes. And then, when that video is over, there's one video that's great that talks about the quality and the purity. And you might say something like, hey, there's a lot of essential oils out there on the market. And this video is going to tell us, what's different about doTERRA and just all that goes into the quality of these oils. So just make sure that you interject personal stuff in between. So, this is kind of how you prep and get ready for your class. So as far as the inviting, this is the most important element to having a great class, is the inviting. And so I just want to share with you really quick, because I think that we learn so much from stories. There's some neighbors and people that I really wanted to teach a little bit more about the oils. I wanted to have a class. And so basically what I did is I scheduled a class, and I went around to my neighbors and I took oils and I took information, and I just said, hey, I'm really excited that I am teaching a class. I wanted to invite you. I'm having a little neighborhood class. Would love it if you guys could come. It's such and such a day at such and such a time. And it was when I did my bingo class last week, it was last week. It's just a really fun way to learn, super low key, and we're going to give away some prizes. And just as a side note, I'm going to do a special webinar on a bingo class because I've had a lot of people ask. But anyways, it was personal, and they came because we had a conversation and we talked a little bit, and it was wonderful. And we had a handful of people enroll that night, and it was really, really great. So inviting is so important. And so be confident when you invite. You're not going to say, hey, so I don't know, you might not be interested, but listen, if you've got a little time in your schedule, just why don't you pop on over? If we make it sort of not important, like, hey, I know you're super busy and it's probably not going to work out, but then people don't understand the value or get excited. So just know that inviting, if you're having trouble getting people to classes, I would have you look at your inviting. Is it personal? Is it with a sample? Is it with confidence? And then do you follow these steps? So I usually invite people a week ahead. I feel like 2 weeks, honestly, it doesn't make a big difference if people have 2 weeks or 1 week. For me, it's usually 1 week out, or maybe 10 days at the most. 2 days before, you do a reminder, and when we talk about reminder, it's not, hi, I'm calling to remind you about that class you said you'd come to. People don't really want to be reminded, but they do want to be inspired and excited. And so I love Diane Shepard. Some of her suggestions are, hey, just so you know, she calls it the just so you know call. Hey, just so you know, we're doing an on-time prize drawing, which we did. And I used that. I called people and said, hey, or I texted them, hey, just so you know, we're doing an on-time prize drawing. And guess what? 3 out of the 5 people were on time, and we did the prize drawing right at on time, and we started that class. Another thing you could do is we're doing a bring a friend prize, and it could be a little sample bottle, just a little sample bottle of Citrus Bliss or something like that. So use those reminders as, hey, just so you know, that 2 days before. And then the 4 hours before, I like to do, hey, I'm so excited to see you guys tonight, putting all my class materials together, or I just filled my prize box, really excited to see you guys tonight. And just kind of as a side note, when I do prizes at my classes, it's always things like sample bottles. It's not expensive. So anyways, inviting and the prep will determine the quality of your class. Okay, so doTERRA has a class in a bag, and I love this. I actually learned this from Jen Oldham a while back when I listened to her teach about this. And, I've been doing doTERRA for 3 years, teaching lots and lots and lots of classes. And I gotta just be totally honest with you guys. I have done a lot of scrambling for, oh my gosh, an hour before I'm supposed to leave, I got to find this and pull this together and do this and pull this together. And basically, I love it because Jen Oldham has her class in a bag. And I'm sure probably lots of you that are listening are like way smarter than me and already decided to do that. But I put together a few months ago a class in a bag. And so what I have in my bag, I've just got a bag I carry, and I have my class materials, my tear pads, my order forms, and my choose a kit, information, which, just FYI, I'm a big advocate of ordering the class in the box. It's $25, and it comes with 10 wild oranges in a 5 ml. It comes with living magazines, which are beautiful and really helpful. It comes with the order form, the enrollment form. It comes with a price list, and it comes with a choose a kit, shows all the different choose a kits, and that wellness, the WA agreement, that's your enrollment form. So it comes with everything you need. And I also have talked about this before, but I use those wild oranges and those living magazines as part of my hostess gift or my giveaways. So I feel like the class in the box for $25 is a steal. And so then I'll add in the Edge Tear Pad, and I just ordered a class in a box. So I haven't seen doTERRA's corporate tear pad, but I'm excited to see it. It may be enough. So anyways, and the Edge Tear Pad for $10, you get 50 of them. So in my bag, I've got those paperwork materials. I've also got Modern Essentials books. I have the small spiral bound, and the truth is that doTERRA also sells an A to Z guide, little A to Z guide that's like 50 cents each. that's great too, because I had a gal at my class last week who said, I do want your book, but I'm not ready for it. But she was in love with the A to Z guide. And so, it's wonderful. And so you want to have a diffuser in that bag. You want to have oils to share, and you want to have pens so that people can take notes and things like that. And the oils that you want to have to share, you want to make sure that, well, there's a couple things. And this is another idea that I just put together that Jen Oldham suggests. Now, most people on this call do not own every oil. I want you to know that is okay. I did not start with every oil. It took me a long time, to acquire every oil using my points and things like that. So really, you just bring what you have. No stress about it at all. But now I do have every oil. And maybe there's some of you on this call that have lots of extra oils, maybe not every, but lots. I purchased a CD case that Aromatools sells, and it holds sample bottles. And I now have a CD case that is full of every oil. So instead of hauling my big case that can be intimidating, I have a big case that holds every oil. And some people might look at that and think, oh, that's too overwhelming. I have every oil with me now in that little CD case. It's not heavy. It's available for people to try or smell, and then I take my zipper pouch that holds 10 oils, and that's what I bring with me. I will say that I also bring a box, whether it's empty or full, that shows the supplement, because it's such a big part of what people like to order when they walk away from my classes. So I think it's in a bag, it's ready to go, and that makes it a whole lot easier. And it's also that same principle of like, build it and they will come. If you have a bag that's ready to go at all times, you've got it with you at all times. I have a friend who carries it in the back of her car, and she's ready to enroll somebody at any minute. Somebody has a few minutes and they want to talk oils, she's ready. And so think about what that's going to do to your mindset and to your ability to just be prepared at any turn. Okay, so in the bag, we got the diffuser. If you don't have a diffuser, that's okay. Still teach a class. But I would encourage you to save the $47. And you can use, I think, 20 out of your points to get at least that pedal diffuser, which I'm really, really loving. I love the pedal diffuser because it has a really good impact that people get to see and smell and experience the oils that way. So diffuser, oils, pens, and class materials. Super simple. I do want to tell you, and I think I mentioned last week that we would talk about how to cut costs, or how to basically, just like cut costs a little bit. So this is not something I've put together yet, but I'm going to do it because I want to see how it goes. This is, again, from my friend Jen Oldham. She puts together folders, and she puts the tear sheets in a sheet protector. And so when people come to the class, there's a pocket in the front folder. There's an A to Z guide with her name on it, so people know it's a class copy, or you can write class copy so people know it's not for them to take home, but it's a reference. And she puts all these materials in the folder. And that way she says, we're not having to constantly repurchase everything. And she actually puts all of the different documents in a sheet protector and has a little dry erase marker, a fine tip point, and has people fill it out that way. She puts it in the computer, and then she just erases it and starts over again. So just know that there's things that you can do to really cut costs. I have another friend who laminates her tear sheets, passes them out, and if somebody says that they want a copy, she has extras. But, just kind of a way to cut costs and cut waste. Okay, now when it comes to teaching the class, this is kind of the flow of the class. And again, you can go online and watch that, the one that we suggested, and I'll post that in the Healing Solutions Biz group. And if you're not a part of that group, please comment in our chat session or chat portion. And if you've got other people that are doing the business with you, can you please make sure that they are added to that group so that everybody it's really our main form of communication at this point. So anyways, you always want to have an introduction. And in the introduction, you want to make sure that you edify the teacher. So if I'm teaching my own class, I'm not going to edify myself. I'm just going to introduce myself. Hi, my name's Wendy. If it's a class that it's people that I don't know, like I'm teaching for somebody else, then I am going to have that hostess edify me. And you can send a text ahead of time or or whatever, just a few things you want to say. Like somebody might say, you know, if I'm going to edify Ellie and she's coming to teach a class for me, I'm going to say, you know, as you know, I'm going to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm really excited that you've taken the time out of your night to spend an hour and learn a little bit more about some natural medicine that's really going to empower you. I'm excited to introduce our presenter tonight. Her name's Ellie Headley. She is heavily involved in the wellness community. She's passionate about, you know, natural health, and she's taught hundreds and hundreds of classes all over, you know, the West Coast. And I'm really excited. She is an expert in her field, and you're going to learn a lot from her tonight. You know, something like that to edify, so that the people at your class feel very excited, you know. And the truth is, remember this, if that's not the case and you're teaching your own class, then I'm just going to tell people about me. I'm going to say, hey, you know, I'm Wendy. For those of you that don't know a lot about me, I've been using essential oils for 5 years. I love them. They've been such a help to my family. You know, we've been able to experience some great lifestyle improvements, you know, for various different family members. And I just believe that everybody deserves to know that they have a choice. And so I leave my family and I go out and I teach other families to be empowered. And so I'm really excited to be with you guys tonight, and hope that you find some really valuable information that you can use and the tools so that you too can become empowered. So, you know, just some kind of an introduction. Then you're going to teach the class, and you'll be able to watch that video that goes into detail and is a really great example of how to teach a class. And then the close, which we're going to go over next week. And next week, we're going to talk about really how to increase enrollments at your class. But you don't, if your class is this week, it's okay. One of the things about teaching, and it's too bad we don't have audio with Ellie right now, but one of the things about teaching is that it takes practice. And the first class you teach, you know, versus the class you're going to teach 2 or 3 years later are going to be totally different. Ellie and I kind of chuckle, and there might even be people on this boot camp call that remember the classes that we taught together in the beginning, where we just unloaded so much information. And our classes were 2 hours and people were tired. And, you know, that second point there, teach that class and keep it at 45 minutes. As we have learned more about the principle of duplication, we have recognized the power in keeping things concise. You know, we do know and understand a lot about the oils, and you may really know and understand and be super excited to tell people a lot about the oils. But we've found that when we've learned to keep our classes at that 40 to 45 minutes, that people, haven't checked out by the time you get to closing. You know, we teach a long class and we get to the close, and everybody's so checked out, they can't even wrap their head around it. So we keep the classes really simple and we keep them concise. And the other thing that happens that's beautiful because of that is that, especially if you're brand new and you're thinking, man, maybe I don't know enough to teach this class. Well, you're on this webinar because you want to build a business. And the number one most important ingredient in building your business is duplication. So if you look, you know, if you're teaching a class and you're excited, everybody knows you're excited, but maybe you don't know every answer, and maybe you might even stumble over your words a little bit. The cool thing is that people in that room who are wondering and are thinking, man, I could do that. And that's exactly what you want people to think at the end of your class. That it was simple. You followed a tear sheet, or you used the class in a box. You passed some oils around, which I forgot to mention that. If you are not opening the oils and passing them around and letting people put them on their body, then you're denying yourself the opportunity for having people to continue to have experiences. So, you know, sometimes I just want you to have an attitude of abundance. When we abundantly share, more abundance comes to us. So it's sort of that law of the harvest. So share your oils. And then, so anyways, keep that class at 45 minutes, and we'll go over the close more next week. So these are some tips for teaching, right? So and I kind of went over it a little bit, like, why do I love the oils? I kind of mentioned that when I did my little mock introduction with you guys, but why are you here? You know, it depends on the crowd. I'll tell one of 2 stories. One is my allergy story, where I suffered for my whole life with seasonal allergies, and one capsule of lemon, lavender, and peppermint really changed everything for me, where I was able to go out and play at the park with my kids and not suffer and be grouchy through most seasons of the year. You know, what's your intention for the class? I don't know if you remember what I said, but I said I'm here because I want to educate and empower you with the tools so that you too can be empowered in your home. And so that's kind of that brief introduction that I did. And then you're going to follow the tear pad as a guide. So we love the Edge class sheet. We love that. And if you don't know what that is, just Google it. It's called Nature's Medicine Cabinet, and we really love that one. It's super simple, and you can literally just read off of it, but nobody really wants to be just read to. So practice on your family, practice in front of the mirror, get familiar enough with it. Not that you necessarily need to have it memorized, but that you can look up and interact with people in between some of the points there. And as you follow that tear sheet, or even if you're using the class in the box, make sure you're pulling oils out and passing them around as you talk about different oil or tell a story. And then you can, in doing that, show the class how simple it is to use oils. And you want to make sure, when I teach a class, I say the word simple a lot. Like, it's super simple to use these oils. It's just, think about it, 3 different ways. We got topical, I'll tell a story about that. We've got internal, tell a story about that. And we've got aromatic, and so I just really emphasize the simplicity of it and how you can't go wrong. I tell people a lot, if I'm closing them one-on-one, or sometimes I'll announce it in the class that, hey, if you're using an oil and you feel like you haven't affected some kind of change in your body, pretty quickly, just change the oil or change where you put it. Maybe you try it internally, maybe you try it aromatically. And so I make it no big deal. So people feel like it's not a big, we'll just try another one. It's not going to hurt you, super safe. And be confident when you share. And then share your personal oil testimony, what got you hooked, kind of a thing. And that's always really fun, because remember that people learn best through stories. And your story doesn't have to be, life-altering. My husband had a life-altering experience with the oils. I have not had a life-altering experience with the oils, but I have had great blessings, more clarity, less stress, hormones, feeling better, hope because I have a tool, my allergies are better, those kind of things. My husband had a really dramatic story. If you don't have a dramatic story, it's okay. I still believe everybody needs to know that they have a choice to care for their families in a natural way. So just share your story, and then make sure you get oils on everyone. And like we talked about, ask your mentor for help with your first class. So for this week, you're going to teach your class. Hopefully your class is scheduled for this week. If you've already had it, I hope it went really good. And so you're going to teach your class. If it's not scheduled for this week, schedule it for next week. And that's going to be your task, is to teach your class. And then for this week, we want you to schedule another class, possibly, hopefully, from somebody who attended your class. Hey, I'm just curious. Would you be open to sharing oils, to sharing this knowledge with some of your friends or family? And then you're going to find 5 more people to share oils with this week. And you're going to meet with your mentor, your accountability partner, check in on your goals and where you're headed. Make sure you're reading personal development. If you've not read Go Pro, it is my favorite. I know Slight Edge is Ellie's favorite. And if you want more suggestions, put it in the chat box. And then right here is the URL to How to Teach the Perfect Class by Seth Risenmay. And you can actually also Google that, if you don't want to write all those numbers down. But actually, I'm actually going to post that on our business group, and then read through the sample script at fasttrackplanner.com. That website will kind of give you a script to read through on teaching that Nature's Medicine Cabinet class. And so let's see here. Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is our last slide. I am going to pop it here and go back into our meeting website here. There we go. Hopefully you guys are seeing that. But I'm going to ask if there's any questions, because this is the perfect time to answer any questions that you guys might have. You guys are so awesome. Okay, bring your questions to the Facebook group. Oh, what's the best way to follow up? Janice Lum. Okay, awesome, Janice. You know what? We're going to go into a lot of detail for that, but next week, but I do want to answer that because it's such an important question. So are you saying how to follow up with people after the class? I just want to see, are you talking about following up after they've come to a class and maybe they did not enroll, or following up after you've given them a sample and then inviting them to the class? Um, okay, yeah, okay. So she says, yeah, good question. People are excited at your class and they're interested, but they don't enroll. Yeah, so good, great question. Okay, so here's what I do. So first of all, they're interested and they're excited. And like I said, we're going to go into more detail next week, but it's usually for a couple of reasons that people don't enroll. Either, one, they feel like they don't have the money. That's a big one. People feel like they don't have the money. Now, the interesting thing about that, because next week we're going to go over overcoming objections that people might say, oh, I need to talk to my husband. I don't have the money. We're going to talk about all that next week and give you some really awesome scripting. But for me, it really comes down to asking questions. And so the flow of our EDGE method is, at the end of this class, what we're going to say to people is, and to remember that there are two closes that go on in a class. If I'm presenting and I'm teaching the class, then I'm going to close the class and say, basically there's two different ways you can get these oils. You can get a wholesale account and pay $35 to open that up, or you can purchase a kit, and I'll do that close. And then I'll say, if this interests you, and I'll talk about the kits, and if you're ready to set up your wholesale account, I'll point them to the enrollment form and say, just fill in the shaded areas, and I'll come by and answer any questions for you. Then the second close happens when you're sitting down next to that person, and the question is, so what did you think of the class? Or, so I'm just curious, which one of the kits interests you the most? So we're not saying, will you buy? And we'll just start a conversation. Don't say, did you like the class? Because that's yes or no. But so I'm just curious, what did you like about that presentation? Or, what did you think was the most exciting thing about that presentation or that class or whatever? Get them talking. And then basically my question, which is the EDGE flow question, is, so would it be okay with you if we went ahead and set up your wholesale account tonight? And then we're going to wait for them to tell us yes or no and figure out what their objections are. So if somebody says, I really want this, but I'm going to need to talk to my husband, and I'm just not sure. That's okay. I'm not going to be like, oh, great, they're not going to buy. I'm going to be like, well, tell me, what kit interests you the most? I'm going to keep the conversation going. Well, I'm looking at this Natural Solutions kit, but I'm just not 100% sure. That's a lot of money. And, then I'm going to say, well, tell me, what are your top 3 health concerns? So I'm going to listen to what they're saying, but I'm not going to internalize it or get all weird about it and assume that they don't want to buy. Because they're in a conversation, they're excited, they're in the class, and I'm going to just keep asking questions. So what are your top 3 health concerns, And they're going to answer, well, my son's got this, and I've got this, and my husband's got this. And I'm going to go, tell me a little bit more about them. How long have they been an issue? And get them, get conversing with them. And what else have you guys tried, And how's that worked out for you up to this point, And so I'm really just going to keep them engaged and get them being very introspective on what they're going through. And then I'm going to say, is there anything else that's going on that you'd really love a natural solution for? And just keep engaged in that conversation. And I'm just going to carry that as far as they want to carry it, And then basically, I'd say, well, if you're looking for a recommendation from me, this is what I would recommend based on everything you said. And for me, the way I close people is I always give people 2 options and say, if money is no object, then usually I'm directing people to the Natural Solutions kit because it's such a great kit, or the premium kit. And I'll say, if money's no object and you're really in a place to reinvent, your health, this kit literally is the best deal because you get these 100 credits. But if money is an object and no big deal, like I get it, this is what I would suggest. And I would give them, suggestion B. And then I say, would you like to go ahead and open up your own wholesale account? And if they say, yeah, but I need to talk to my husband, then I'll say, perfect, great. Take it home, talk to your husband, or take it home and think about it. Would it be okay if I followed up with you in a day or 2 or tomorrow or whatever to see how that's going? And I'm just going to stay with it. So we're going to talk about specific objections next week, but that's kind of how I do it because there's a couple things going on. Not everybody is in a position to enroll that night, A. But B, sometimes they are and they're just afraid. And then sometimes they they are, and they know they want it, and they just need a little help seeing the value. And there's a guy, Neil Anderson, who talks about, he says, sometimes he'll say to people, that people will say, gosh, that's a lot of money, you know? And he'll say, okay, yeah, let me ask you something. If I brought my brand new Jeep into this room and put it right here in the living room and said it's yours for $500, would you take it? And everybody's like, yeah, of course I would, you know? And he says, it's because you see the value in it, you know? And then he'll say, I want you to know that what is in this kit will provide more value for you than a brand new Jeep, because we're talking about your health. And so there's ways to help, and we're not trying to sell people at all. And that's really big. And people love it when we feel unattached. So to answer your question, Janice, I would engage, and I would just engage in those questions, get people to be thinking. These questions are, you know, tell me what's going on. Like, what are your top health concerns? And, you know, get them to talk. And how long has it been an issue? Really? And tell me all the things you've tried. Like, get them to feel their own struggle and feel the pain of what's going on. And then we help them see the value. And if they need some time, hey, it's okay. We'll give you time. Now, I will sometimes, you know, if it's somebody that I've shared with, or sometimes you can just kind of feel, it's like, you know, they just need to pull the trigger, you know, then I always have, like, anybody that enrolls tonight, you know, gets this book for free. Or sometimes I've even had, if you feel like it's the same people you've been teaching to, I'll put together a little prize bag, very small, different samples, maybe some samples of like toothpaste, shampoo, something minimal, you know, that costs maybe $5 max, you know, something like that. But just a little something or a Citrus Bliss hand lotion, which is in that price range. And I'll say, you know, anybody that enrolls tonight at this class gets this prize. And for some people, it's a motivation. So for some people, it's not, you know, but I would just keep those people in your loop, and they go onto your list of people that you're just checking in with. Like, hey, you know, maybe you check in 2 weeks later and say, hey, I was thinking about you. I know how excited you were about, you know, helping your son out or really balancing your chakras. And I want to let you, I've done this before too, you'll laugh. I've done this before where at the end of, and we're going over time, sorry. At the end of the month, I'll say, hey, I'm putting my orders in for the end of the month. Now, I do not sell retail, but I just say it. I'm putting my orders in for the end of the month, and I wondered if you were ready to get your wholesale account started. So I just keep them in the loop, and I do the check, you know, make sure I'm not annoying, and it, you know what, people will come around. Does that answer your question, Janice? Sometimes I feel like I have the longest answers in the whole world to people's questions. But next week, we're going to go specifically over objections.